Now for the news in detail, we begin in the U.S., where the death toll from COVID-19 has exceeded 130,000 as cases approach 3 million in the country. In India, meanwhile, COVID-19 cases have surpassed 700,000, with over 22,000 people testing positive for the virus just in the last 24 hours. Globally, the death toll has exceeded 537,000, with over 11.5 million cases. More on that now in this report.
With the coronavirus outbreak in Latin America showing no signs of slowing down, Brazil has reported 620 more deaths, raising the tally to over 65,000. President Jair Bolsonaro has tested again for the virus after showing symptoms of the disease, including fever. Meanwhile, Mexico fears the pandemic can last until April next year. The country has recorded over 261,000 cases, with the death toll crossing 31,000, putting it in a grim fifth place worldwide. In the U.S., the state of Georgia has declared an emergency and mobilized 1,000 National Guard troops after a 4th of July holiday weekend. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo has called on President Donald Trump not to be a co-conspirator of the coronavirus.
You now have 38 states in this country with an increasing virus rate of infection. It's only getting worse. It's not getting better. You look at states like Texas, you look at Arizona, you look at those curves. I mean, we know those curves. We've seen them. We've been there, done that.
In Africa, the death toll has crossed 11,000, with former President of the Republic of Congo and Somalia's former Prime Minister among those dead. Over in Spain, various regions are taking different measures to contain the outbreak within their borders. Galicia County is the latest to impose restrictions on about 70,000 people after Catalonia also introduced a local lockdown.
PCR tests will be carried out on those people who contact the health center or the health council if they live outside this locality and that report they have been in the areas around the bars or the street in which we have identified there are people with a positive test.
In Asia, the Chinese capital Beijing has reported no new infections for the first time since an outbreak re-emerged at its main wholesale market last month. Meanwhile, South Korea has seen its daily new cases hover below 50 for the second consecutive day. Meanwhile, Australia's state of Victoria has been forced to consider a 4-week lockdown after recording its biggest one-day surge. Meanwhile, lockdown measures have been reimposed in Melbourne for 6 weeks.
Here in Pakistan, 77 more people have died of coronavirus in the past 24 hours, raising the overall death toll to 4,839. The Health Ministry said nearly 2,700 new cases have been detected since yesterday, taking the tally of infections to over 234,000. The ministry said nearly 135,000 people have recovered from the virus so far. Officials said over 2,300 patients across the country are critically ill due to the virus. The province of Sindh is the worst hit by the virus, with over 96,000 infections, while Punjab has reported nearly 83,000 cases. In northwestern province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the tally of patients is over 28,000, while there are nearly 11,000 cases in Balochistan. The capital city, Islamabad, has reported over 13,000 cases, and Azad Jammu and Kashmir, as well as Gilgit-Baltistan, have nearly 3,000 cases. Well, after a surge in COVID-19 cases and deaths in Pakistan, the country is now seeing a swift slowdown in the outbreak. With Prime Minister Imran Khan's strategy of smart localized lockdowns and efforts of the National Command and Operations Control for COVID-19, the country is now making headway in both containment of the virus and treatment for the disease. More now in this report by Manahil Ahmed.
As Pakistan grapples with the coronavirus, the country's strategy of smart localized lockdowns has reaped tangible results. The National Disaster Management Authority's chairman, General Nadeem Afzal, says statistics for the past 10 days are very encouraging.
What numbers are coming are encouraging. I will not pin down that we are on the slide and we are going down. But let me tell you, the number what I have seen in last about 10 days are very encouraging. And I'm sure that these will have good results if we keep going the same way.
While the rate of infection appears to be slowing down, upcoming events of mass congregation like the Eid al-Adha and Muharram pose a great challenge. The chairman says the NDMA is planning ahead to minimize the probable spread.
Should be mentally and physically prepared for the events which are end of this month and end of next month. Their effects on our society and on our country. We have made our preparation, we are just fine-tuning them, and we will have all things which we can make ready for those times.
In addition to its containment strategy, Pakistan has shown enormous progress in treating the disease and is now locally manufacturing the basic healthcare equipment related to the COVID-19.
We encourage the local industry. We have a big industry which is stitching industry, the cotton industry and the cloth industry, and also the businessmen. And we started purchasing it from them, and alhamdulillah, today we are not only self-sufficient in the PPEs, even N95 masks are being produced by 4 or 5 companies in Pakistan.
Experts believe Pakistan has comparatively dealt with the coronavirus in a better way than other countries in the region. Manahil Ahmed reporting for Indus News, Islamabad.
Indian troops, meanwhile, have martyred another youth in occupied Kashmir's Pulwama district, raising the toll to 6 this month. Occupation forces targeted the civilian during a cordon and search operation in the Gusu area of the district. Indian forces have martyred at least 181 civilians in more than 110 military operations since January. The occupied valley has been under New Delhi's crushing curfew and communication blackout for the past 337 days. Well, Kabul says 15 Taliban fighters have been killed in an air and ground operation by government forces in the northern Baghlan province. Police claim that a key Taliban local leader is also among the dead. Police said the operation was launched on the Samangan highway. They said clashes erupted after the Taliban set up a checkpoint on the Baghlan-Balkh highway and Chashmashir area. A government commander said the Taliban closed the highway after launching an attack on it. The Taliban, though, have not yet commented on the attack. Lebanon's Hezbollah and Palestine's Hamas groups say Israel's annexation plans are aggression against the Palestinian people. In a letter to Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh said the Palestinian cause is facing grave dangers. In a statement, Hezbollah said the Palestinian people are capable of confronting Tel Aviv's annexation. It called on Arab and Muslim nations to quickly move to stop Israel's continuous aggression. Meanwhile, Israel's Settlement Council has announced it will build 164 new housing units in the Neve Daniel settlement of the occupied West Bank. Officials said the construction is part of Israel's expansion of the city of Jerusalem. Well, in Iraq, gunmen have shot dead a former government advisor and political analyst, Hisham al-Hashimi, in the capital, Baghdad. Government officials have declared the assassination a targeted killing, but did not blame any particular group for the incident. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for Hashimi's killing. Police said 2 gunmen on a motorbike carried out the killing, with one shooting Hashimi outside his house in the Zayuna district. The Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi has pledged to pursue the assassinators of Hashimi. A statement by the Prime Minister's media office said al-Kadhimi held an outlawed militant group responsible for the assassination. Hashimi was known for his views about politics, ISIS, and the role of Iran-backed militias in Iraq. Well, Turkey says it has killed 4 militants of the Kurdistan Workers' Party in 2 anti-terrorism operations in Hakkari province and northern Syria. The Interior Ministry said 2 militants were killed in an air-backed operation in the rural areas of Hakkari. It said another 2 were killed in Syria's Operation Euphrates Shield Zone. The ministry said the operation is underway in the region. It said Turkey would continue to destroy weapons caches and shelters used by terrorists. Turkey holds the PKK responsible for the deaths of some 40,000 people in a 30-year terror campaign. A UN investigator says the U.S. drone strike in Iraq that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani and 9 others was a violation of international law. In a report, Agnes Calamard said Washington has failed to provide sufficient evidence to justify the strike on the convoy. Calamard said Soleimani was in charge of Iran's military strategy and actions in Syria and Iraq, but he was not an imminent threat to life. She said the strike was the first known in which a nation invoked self-defense as a justification for an attack against a state actor in a third country. China, meanwhile, has accused the U.S. of unilateralism and undermining efforts to combat global challenges after Washington refused to join the UN's Global Arms Trade Treaty. Without naming the U.S., China's UN ambassador Zhang Jun said a certain country had walked away from international commitments and launched acts of bullying. In a statement, Zhang said major powers need to encourage multilateralism and safeguard the international rule of law under the UN's auspices. Referring to Washington's refusal, he said the move had undermined efforts to tackle global challenges to maintain balance and stability. He said Beijing had joined the agreement, which regulates $70 billion worth of global arms trade. China is the 107th party to the UN General Assembly's 2013 pact, but the U.S. distanced itself from the pact in July 2019. Rejecting U.S.-led criticism, Hong Kong's leader Carrie Lam has said China's new law for the territory is not all doom and gloom. At a press conference, Lam said compared to the national security laws of other countries, the new legislation is a rather mild one. She said the law will restore the city's status as one of the safest cities in the world. Lam said the new mainland agency will be involved in only a few cases and warned against crossing the red line of national security. Earlier on Monday, the semi-autonomous region released additional details of the law underlining security forces' sweeping mandates. Beijing's new security legislation prohibits acts of secession, subversion, terrorism, and collusion. France's new Prime Minister Jean Castex has announced a cabinet reshuffle after holding office. The Prime Minister has named new figures to certain posts while others have been retained. Élysée Palace said 31 ministers, some of them deputies, include 17 women and 14 men. They will convene in their first Council of Ministers meeting later today. Jean-Yves Le Drian has been appointed as the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs, with Gérald Darmanin as Interior Minister. Turkey says its coast guards have rescued 65 asylum seekers in 3 boats on the western coast of the Aegean Sea. Officials said the Greek Coast Guard pushed 2 life rafts carrying 36 people back towards the coast of Karaburun district in Turkey's Izmir province. They said the Greek Coast Guard also pushed back a rubber boat carrying 29 people off the coast of Aslanburnu in Izmir. They said all of the asylum seekers have been transferred to the Provincial Immigration Center. And coming up next in this news bulletin, in cave. And top designers experiment with digital showcases. Welcome back. The Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has declined an invitation to the White House this week to celebrate the new North American trade deal. In a statement, the Prime Minister's office said Trudeau informed Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador of his decision over a phone call. The statement said the Premier will be attending cabinet meetings and a parliament session in Ottawa. Earlier this week, Trudeau had cast doubts over the meeting, citing threats of potential U.S. tariffs on Canadian aluminum and COVID-19 concerns. Now, 7 people have died while over 50 others have been injured after a fuel truck exploded in northern Colombia. Officials said a crowd gathered around the tanker to fill up fuel when the vehicle burst into fumes. Police said people carrying plastic containers had ignored warnings of the dangers. Authorities said the truck overturned on the road east of Barranquilla near the town of Pueblo Viejo. Rescue officials said some of the victims have severe burns and the death toll may rise even further. President Ivan Duque sent a message of solidarity, saying the government is collaborating with the concerned departments.
It is really a painful situation. We are working with the whole team of India's National Institute of Roads, the Directorate of Transport Police, with the DITRA Directorate of Traffic and Transport, with the whole team of emergency workers. A message of solidarity with the people who lost their loved ones in this accident.
Here in Pakistan, 6 people, including 3 minors, have died while 2 others were injured in rain-related incidents in the port city of Karachi. Data from the meteorological department showed 43 millimeters of rainfall was recorded in the metropolis's southern area. Apart from Karachi, Badin, Mirpur Khas, Parker and Hyderabad also received rainfall with thunder showers. On Friday, the Pakistan Meteorological Department issued a weather advisory for the province of Sindh. Now, a rare cloud scenery has appeared on the Tianmen Mountain in Jiangxi National Forest Park after persistent rainfall in China's Hunan province.
The mountain got its name Tianmen, which means Heaven's Gate in Chinese. It was given its name after a hole appeared on its upper surface due to a rock collapse in 263 AD. Clouds were seen floating through the Tianmen Cave, known as a water-eroded cave with the highest elevation in the world. It is located 1,300 meters above the sea level, creating a fairyland view as if a pure white dragon winding through the cave. The mountain has always been a huge attraction to the tourists with its spectacular cloud scenery and abundant resources of flora. It gained wider international reputation after the film Avatar was released in 2009, with the movie's alien scenery being inspired by the mountain's distinctive landscapes.
Well, as the new coronavirus threatens health and upends daily life throughout the world, the fashion industry is also feeling the heat of the crisis. To cope with the situation, organizers of the Paris Fashion Week have come up with a digital solution. Instead of staging sometimes extravagant shows, the Fashion Week has clicked off online to avoid an existential crisis by coronavirus. More on that now in this report.
Paris is usually abuzz during its prestigious haute couture presentations in July, with hotels normally heaving with fashionistas and landmarks turned into catwalk venues. But in a makeover triggered by the coronavirus crisis, top designers will instead be experimenting next week with online showcases to try and keep clients hooked. Brands from Christian Dior to Chanel are pressing ahead with collections and shows through an organized schedule of videos running from July 6th to 8th.
I think there is a bit less stress in terms of organization because we didn't send out the invitations and we don't have to bring together an audience. I know that seating would be difficult to do these days, but aside from this, all rest is the same.
At the Haute Couture Week, a select club of designers display one-of-a-kind handmade outfits.
This is also the big question mark. What will happen with the clients? How will they catch on? I don't know when the borders will reopen. For the American clients at the moment, it seems to me a bit difficult. I don't know.
Physical catwalk displays are likely to be back on the agenda in Paris by September, and brands were already booking venues.
The Fashion Week keep Paris' economy running. Whether it's luxury hotels or it's also a great window that shows Paris' image to the world. So there are these things that must not be replaced and just cannot be replaced as such.
It is said that the fashion weeks keep Paris' economy running. The shows generate over €1 billion for the local economy each year.
The European Union has said it will act decisively against the U.S. if it is unwilling to settle a row over aircraft subsidies and presses ahead with trade investigations. Speaking in the European Parliament, the Trade Commissioner Phil Hogan said Washington had twice rejected Brussels' proposals to settle the dispute. The U.S. has launched investigations known as Section 232 to assess the impact of imports on national security. Calling them unacceptable, Hogan said if these investigations go further, the bloc will have to stand together and act as well. It's time now to find out what the weather is like around the world. Well, for the latest updates on these and other stories, you can always follow us on our social media at Indus.news. Thanks very much for watching.